Hey, it's David from B2B. Thank you for checking out this video. And what I'm talking about today is the minimum viable growth framework for boutique B2B service businesses. So if you work for a B2B service business or you run a B2B service business and you're looking for a way to break the cycle of doing marketing and not actually growing, you want to find market resonance and you want to find a way to predictably scale up with a less is more but still wildly profitable approach to growth, then this is for you. And just to let you know, you're not going to need a fancy website, you're not going to need a big marketing budget, you're not going to need a huge team or expensive tools or anything like that. And that's why I call it the minimum viable growth framework, because it's how do we grow with the least amount of, what are the fewest steps that we need to take to find our way towards growth. This is for you if you work for or run a boutique, so 2 to 50 person business, B2B company with a track record and some case studies. So if you're a startup, this probably isn't for you. If most of your business has come from your network or referrals in the past and you've not had to sort of do much selling, if you've been trying to grow, but like Keith, this is one of my customers here, the marketing you've done so far has felt like guesswork or throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. If you've tried a bunch of different marketing activities in the past, and I speak to a lot of people who have done this, they've tried LinkedIn, they've tried SEO, they've tried paid ads, they've tried to redesign their website, and none of it has really worked out in the way that you wanted to, then this is really going to help you. Maybe you've been convinced that buying HubSpot was going to solve all your growth problems, and it's a great tool, but maybe it hasn't actually helped you grow. You want your marketing to be predictable and something that you feel like you can control. You're tired of seeing less competent competitors overtake you and win business that you should be winning, or you feel like you should be winning. If you know you have a great product or service and you just know that if you could get in front of more of the right people, you would win more deals. So if any or all of that resonates with you, then this is really for you. And kind of the inspiration for the minimum viable framework, or the sort of scientific approach to growth, came from this quote from Keith, one of our customers. He said, "All of the marketing we have done so far has felt like guesswork, and this is a very simple scientific process, and I can see a clear path to growth." So if that kind of feeling resonates with you, if you feel like you've just been guessing or sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, then this is really going to help you with your growth, and I hope you get loads of value out of it. Quick introduction to myself and why I feel I'm qualified to talk about this. So I have 10 years of experience in B2B sales and marketing. I should say nearly, I think it's like 9.75 at this point. My last sort of employed role before I went out on my own, I was director of business development at a B2B service company, kind of growth lead role. So I was running a small sales team and a small marketing team, and really proud as a team. We had record-breaking years back to back whilst I was in that position. And this is a company that had been around for 20 years or so, had mostly relied on referrals and kind of inbound and their network. And we were able to help them grow by implementing this exact strategy. We had record-breaking years, which was great, both for client acquisition and also for total revenue in the business. And we crossed over $100 million in turnover, which had long been a goal of the leadership team. So that was super exciting. After I left that business, I launched a marketing agency, Taranga, and we hit 50K a month within 4 months of our public launch. And we went from 0 to 8 full-time team members in the first 12 months. As of recording this video, we have about 15 team members. And we solve product market fit in a really competitive market. There's a lot of marketing agencies out there. And so although 50K a month, that may or may not sound impressive to whoever's watching this, what we were pleased with was how quickly we were able to get there, and how it's a very competitive space in order to actually hit those levels quite quickly. I then launched B2B, which is a growth consulting company for B2B businesses. And this is when I realized that businesses need more than just marketing. Marketing alone is not going to help people grow. And that's why I launched B2B, because I felt with my experience working in-house in sales and marketing, running my own companies, so I know what it feels like to spend my own money on marketing and need it to generate me returns. And then having worked with probably about 100 companies now across both businesses, I've seen a lot of growth strategies in practice, and I'm able to help people with theirs. And outside of work, just in case you want to know, I'm a massive coffee nerd, so I love to grind my coffee in the morning. I weigh it and grind it by hand. I absolutely love dogs, especially our spaniel Freddie, who's sitting down here just lying in the corner, and I love collecting and investing in watches. So that's a bit about me. Now I want to get into the meat of this content, which is really talking about how to grow. Okay, so this is how most businesses try to grow, and I call this doing marketing. What it means is, at the starting point is we want to grow, so growth is desired. And what we tend to do is we kind of think to ourselves, we want to grow, we should do some marketing. And so what that looks like in practice is we test out a bunch of different marketing channels. So maybe we try some LinkedIn outreach, maybe we try to automate that. Maybe we update our website. Maybe we try to write some thought leadership content. Maybe we go to a bunch of events and we pay for stands at expos and things like that. Maybe we buy expensive tools like HubSpot, and we're kind of hoping that all of this activity is going to drive a result. And then we basically ask ourselves the question, is this working or not? And what tends to happen is that, number one, it's often quite difficult to tell what is and isn't working because we're doing a bunch of different things at the same time and we're not really fully committing to any of these. But secondly, even if it is, what tends to happen is we kind of go back to the start and we just do more marketing. And if it's not working, we kind of go back to the start and we try and do more marketing. So lots of businesses are caught in this cycle of what I would call doing marketing but not growing. And you kind of get into this cycle. And I don't know if that resonates with you. You might be in a stage of your business now where, you've been trying a bunch of different things and it doesn't quite seem to be working. I think I know the reason for that. And the problem with this is you end up feeling quite confused. You feel like it's complicated. There's lack of control over the variables that you have. You do see some results. So you're going to, generate some leads. You're probably going to close some deals, but growth feels slow and painful. It feels like you're going uphill. It's also expensive because, financially, you're obviously spending a lot on a lot of different things. I mean, HubSpot alone can be like, 10 to 20 grand a year or something like that. But the most expensive aspect to this is the opportunity cost, right? Because if you could figure out how to grow quicker, then all of that time you spent wasted would be time that you would be growing. So this is a really important aspect that people don't think about, which is the opportunity cost of not figuring this stuff out. And in the worst case scenario, it leads people to believe that marketing literally doesn't work. So I had a conversation with someone the other day who said, I don't think marketing works because I've just tried so many things and it's never worked out for me. And that's obviously the worst case scenario and not where we want to be. That's kind of the first option. And I believe this is how most businesses try to grow. Now, here's the alternative. And this is what I call the minimum viable growth framework. So this is just based on my experience of having seen a lot of businesses try to grow. And this is the most simple way to grow, in my opinion. So, if I was starting a new business today, this is how I would do it. If I had an established business that had been in business for 20 years and haven't ever figured out how to sort of generate business from a cold audience, then this is the exact protocol that I would implement into that business. So we start at the same point, which is obviously desiring growth. Now, what we're going to do first, and this is a step that people really skip quite often, is we're going to position ourselves properly. So we're going to come up with a hypothesis. I call this a product market fit hypothesis. And so we need to get really clear with ourselves on who our thing is for, how it uniquely helps them, what's that mechanism that we're using to take people on the transformation that we're providing, how is our pricing specifically different. All of these aspects, we need to position ourselves properly and come up with a hypothesis. And I like using these scientific terms because it encourages us to think scientifically, right? So we need to come up with a hypothesis and then we need to test it. So we start by positioning ourselves properly and getting really clear on exactly who we're helping and how we're helping them. We then use that to create what I call a sales letter or a video sales letter. Now, what I mean by this is it's just a piece of content, basically. So it's my belief that all you really need to grow your business is one really great piece of content. Forget about writing 100 thought leadership blogs. Just start with one really great piece of content called a sales letter that can convert someone from a cold prospect into a warm lead. So that's the purpose of this sales letter, okay? It's to turn someone from a cold prospect into a warm lead. And it could look in a lot of different formats, right? So it could be a webinar, it could be a sales landing page, it could be a video, it could be some sort of PDF that you're sending them, it could even be a physical leaflet. So there's a lot of things that this can look like in practice. I like VSLs, which is a video sales letter, because you can translate a lot of information, but that doesn't work for everyone. The point here is you have one great asset, which we then test and figure out, is it resonating with our audience? We need to first figure out, do we have budget for paid advertising? This is the quickest way to test our piece of content, right? Because we've built a piece of content, we now need to test it and see if it resonates with our audience. Do we have budget for paid advertising? If we do, great. We're going to test that with advertising. So we're going to push that in front of people that we think might be interested in it and see if anyone resonates with it and see if anyone's interested. If we don't have budget for paid advertising, then we're just going to use some form of outbound prospecting. So that could be on the phone, it could be LinkedIn messaging, it could be emails. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do that. Obviously, the paid ads are more efficient, but typically more expensive. So you can reach more people, but it's going to cost you a little bit more. And that's why we need to first figure out if we have the budget to do that or not. We're going to ask ourselves, have we achieved resonance here? And this is the really important aspect here. We need to achieve resonance before we try and scale up our marketing. You'll see in the previous example, This really is about scaling up our marketing. But we haven't earned the right to do that because we haven't found the message that truly, truly resonates with our audience. And that's a really key part of this process, is we need to find resonance first and then scale up afterwards, okay? So we need to ask ourselves, do we have resonance? Is this message resonating? Is it converting cold prospects into leads? Are people reaching out to say they're interested in learning more? Are we doing any sales? Like if we launch a new sales letter and then we're doing sales, that's a pretty good sign that what we're sharing is resonating. Are a good amount of people converting? Is it getting good engagement as well? That's another key factor. Like, are people organically sharing it? Which is a really important factor to this. And obviously, if we have, then that's great. We're going to move on to the next stage of the process. If we haven't, no problem at all. And this is fairly typical first or second time round, is that we're going to go back to the start. We're going to update our hypothesis and then create a new piece of content and then test it again. And this is the really key part of this process. We keep iterating and we keep testing until we find that piece of content that really, really resonates. And that's what's uniquely different about this process. The beauty of doing it in this way is you can spin up ideas very quickly and test them very quickly. What people typically do is they say, right, we're not getting any leads, let's try and update our website, update the copy of our website. And generally speaking, that takes 3 to 6 months. And it might be a really expensive process as well, particularly if you need to get a designer and a developer involved. And so I would far rather, let's create a rough piece of content, see if it works. And if it does work, we can build the website around it. So you can spin through ideas very, very quickly. So let's say we have achieved resonance. That's a really good place to be. We have now content that is generating leads and generating interest in our offer or our product or our services. Now what we need to look at is the conversion mechanism. So the conversion mechanism that takes those leads or that interest and converts it into customers. Some people call this a sales process. So we need to create that process and make sure it's designed for maximum efficiency. Okay, so it needs to have the highest closing percentages possible, and it also needs to have the shortest sales cycles possible. And I truly believe that a lot of businesses leave loads of money on the table just because they don't have a great mechanism of converting their leads into customers. Okay, so that's something where you can have an impact very quickly if you just increase your closing percentage by 10%. And that can have a huge, huge impact on your profit and your revenue overall, which is the main goal here, let's be honest. So we're going to figure out, have we got an effective conversion mechanism? Is it working properly? I don't have time to get into all of the details of this now, but we're going to find out, is it working properly? If it's not, we're going to continually update this and continue to improve it until it's converting at a reasonable percentage. So that might look like changes to how we position ourselves, potentially changes to the pricing. There's lots of different aspects to this. And then once we have got an effective conversion mechanism, this is like the fun part, okay? So this is where we can start doing some more marketing and actually scaling the thing up, because we've found resonance, right? We've found content, we've found a message that really resonates with our audience. It generates interest, it generates leads, and we now have a great process of converting those leads into customers. So kind of our only job now is how do we get as much attention to that content as possible. So we're going to start by building a funnel around that piece of content. You may choose to have an opt-in page, you'll have a thank you page, you may have a more sort of perfect looking landing page designed really nicely, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to scale up. And usually what I say to people is pick 1 or 2 channels and then scale up. Most boutique businesses, you're not going to need more than a couple of great marketing channels that you master. So if you're running ads, scaling up ads is a really good way to just generate more interest quickly. You might add more appointment setters or more outbound prospectors, kind of SDRs, that kind of thing. You might look at some content and SEO, and that's going to drive down your customer acquisition cost over time. You might use your personal brand. You might use channel or referral partners. And this is going to help you achieve growth. And the great thing about this is it's a scientific approach. It's a very simple action plan. So you've got a step-by-step action plan here. And you always know, if it's not working, you always know which part of the funnel or which part of the process is not working, and therefore you can fix it. Like I said, it's simple and you can control those variables. It's very lean, so it means that you keep your costs down. And obviously that means you can grow efficiently. So capital efficient growth, which is just a really fancy way of saying growing while staying mega profitable. I want to share with you a case study of this exact process in practice. I said earlier, if I was going to launch a new business, this is the exact protocol that I would use. Well, that is what I have done. We launched a new business called B2B. We actually launched in February 2023. This was our piece of content. It was a video sales letter called Stop Doing Marketing and Start Growing. Had a bit of a similar message to the video that I'm recording today. And this is a snapshot from our CRM at the end of April. So less than 90 days after the launch of the new business, we'd done £185,000 of new business, and the majority of that was paid up front. And that's without a marketing team, so it's literally me and an assistant working in the business at the moment. So no marketing team, we haven't got a huge budget for marketing, we don't even have a proper website yet. I mean, funny story about that, I actually applied for a bank account for the business. Initially, they rejected the bank account because they said there's not enough information on your website about the service that you're offering. And I was saying, hey, I've already done 185K in sales, like, do you not want that money in the bank account with you? But anyway, that's another story for another day. And I'm not sharing these numbers to impress anyone. The reason I share them is it shows what's possible in a short space of time with very limited resources. So just to prove that I practice what I preach, and I know that it works really well, which is why I know it probably worked for you. So here's my offer. If any or all of that resonates with you, then there's probably a good chance that I can help you. And these are the next steps. Let's have a free call, so a one-to-one growth consulting call to discuss your business, your goals, and your challenges. And I usually charge quite a lot for these calls, to be honest. My consulting calls are quite expensive. Let's have a free call one-to-one, and what we'll do is we'll make an action plan to customize this framework to your business so that you can start growing today with or without me. So my hope is that you leave that call knowing what your next steps are with or without working with me. And then obviously, if it makes sense for us to work together, and there's a pretty strict qualification process here because I can't work with that many clients at a time, but if it does make sense for us to work together, I'll make you an offer to work together and also guarantee that I can help you build a simple but profitable client acquisition machine in 180 days or less. So what I mean by that is we'll implement this protocol into your business. It's a client acquisition machine, and it usually takes 3 to 6 months to figure this stuff out. And if it doesn't work, then I'll give you your money back, basically. So that's my guarantee to you. So if you are interested in that, if you do want to take me up on the offer of a free consulting call, there should be a link or a calendar or something here that you can use. Would love to see you on that call. We can build you an action plan, and you'll know the next steps to how to grow your business. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and look forward to speaking to you soon. Cheers.